everyone, or good morning, depending on where you're joining us from. Welcome to the call, and thank you for joining us. My name is Hanna Abdo. I'm the communications manager with the Canadian Owners and Pilots Association. And I just want to take a very quick moment here to thank everyone that's joining, speakers and attendees alike. I will just take a very quick moment to have our guest speakers quickly introduce themselves. We also have Sharon Chung on the call, who is the Marketing and Communications Director at COPA. So I'll just take a very quick moment here. I'll go in the order that I'm seeing you on my screen. So if we can have Emily, Ifiolua, David, and Sharon just quickly introduce yourselves.
All right, I can start. I'm Emily Perrell. I'm from North Bay, Ontario. Now I live in Montreal I'm currently studying mechanical engineering. I won the Neil Armstrong Scholarship in 2021. Is that good enough?
Perfect.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ifeoluwa Olaitan. I'm from Quebec City, and I won the COPA Advanced Drone Pilot Scholarship for 2024.
Hi, everyone. My name is David. I'm from Burnaby, BC, and I was the 2023 recipient of the Neil J. Armstrong Ab Initio Scholarship.
Alrighty, I'm happy to introduce myself too. I'm the Director of Marketing Communications, Sharon Chung, as Hannah had mentioned, and I oversee the scholarship program directly with Hannah here. I also saw that Annie is on the call. If you could try to unmute yourself, and let's see if we can test out if you can introduce yourself as well.
How's my audio?
We can hear you great.
Oh, wonderful. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Annie Wen. I'm from the Montreal area. I was a recipient of the 2023 COPA Advanced Flight Training Scholarship for my multi-engine rating, which I successfully completed last fall. I am currently studying for my INRAT, which is the next step for my multi-IFR.
All right, perfect. So thank you everyone for joining. We'll just go ahead and quickly go over our flight plan for today. So we're just going to give a very quick introduction of COPA in general as an association, a very brief introduction about the COPA Scholarship Program. As you might very well know, COPA offers 4 different scholarships. Some for advanced training and others for beginner or primary flight training. We'll talk about the 4 different scholarships to try and help you decide which one is the right one for you to apply for. A few things to keep in mind as you are submitting your application. We'll give a very brief introduction of the tool that we used, our scholarship management tool, which is AwardSpring. And then we'll hear from our previous year recipients on some tips and tricks on basically how to submit an application that stands out, how to submit an application that really catches the attention of the Scholarship Selection Committee. And then we'll open it up if there are any questions from the attendees on today's call. If you're new to using Microsoft Teams, you can either use the question and answer tool or the chat function of this call. Sharon and I will be monitoring those questions and we'll answer them as they come in. And for anyone who was not able to join this call, it will be recorded and posted on our YouTube channel. If there's anyone that would like to re-watch the call to see if there's any information in here that can help you. So very quickly, a brief introduction about COPA. The Canadian Owners and Pilots Association is the biggest representative of general aviation in Canada. We are a member association. We represent the voice of about 12,000 members, both pilots and flight enthusiasts alike. And our mission as an organization is to preserve, promote, and inspire general aviation across Canada. Our association was established in 1952, and as you will see, the scholarship program started about 29, almost 30 years ago. our vision as an association, where we see ourselves, is we are the stewards of a thriving general aviation community across Canada. As you may well know, any sort of aviation, commercial or non-commercial, private, general aviation, it all starts with you getting your private pilot license or PPL. So really, aviation in general in Canada starts with us here at COPA. The COPA Scholarship Program, as I have mentioned, it really aims to make flight training accessible and affordable to anyone who would like to either start their journey in general aviation or just advance their flight training. Since 1996, we have offered about $365,000 in scholarship funds. Since 1996, we've had 93 recipients of the scholarship, four of whom are with us here on the call. This year, COPA has about $32,000 in funding that we are happy to offer to 9 recipients, all in all, between the 4 different scholarships that we will talk about. And hope that you guys are ready to either kickstart your journey with aviation or continue and advance your journey. So the COPA Scholarship Program really has scholarships and opportunities for everyone. And by everyone here, we're talking about members and non-members. I have mentioned that COPA is an association that represents its membership, 12,000. And the COPA Scholarship Program has 4 different scholarships that are divided into 2 categories or 2 buckets, if you want. We have the primary flight training scholarships for anyone that is just starting their journey with aviation. If you're considering getting your PPL, whether you have already started your training or not, we have 2 different scholarships that I will talk briefly about. Those primary flight training scholarships are open to everyone, both COPA members and non-members. And the 2 scholarships that are available have 1 recipient each, the COPA Neil J. Armstrong Ab Initio Scholarship and the COPA New Wings Scholarship. Both offer 1 recipient each the opportunity to start their flight training with a COPA scholarship. Now, moving on to the advanced flight training scholarships, those are exclusive to COPA members. One of the requirements for applying for an advanced flight training scholarship is that you have been a member of COPA for about 3 months. I'm going to let you in on a very quick loophole. The application window had just started and it is open until March 13th. So even if you feel like you fall in the category of applying for an advanced flight training scholarship, you still have an option to get your COPA membership right now, start getting involved with the COPA community, and by the time the application window is closing, you would have already satisfied the criteria of having been a COPA member to qualify for one of those advanced flight training. Now, who applies for those scholarships? These are open for anyone that is looking to get to advance their flight training with an advanced rating or an endorsement on top of an existing private pilot license. So to qualify for an advanced flight training scholarship, you already need to have your PPL. And combined between the 2 different scholarship types, we do offer 7 recipients an advanced flight training scholarship that I'll talk about. So I'll quickly go over the 4 different scholarship types so that you know which one is the most appropriate for you to apply for. One thing to keep in mind is when you go into the application, it is one single application. So you don't have to decide on which scholarship you want to apply for. The system kind of makes that decision for you based on the answers that you submit into the application. So we'll start with the first primary training scholarship, which is the COPA Neil J. Armstrong Ab Initio Scholarship. And Emily and David, maybe I can test you on the history of the naming of the scholarship. I won't. Excuse me. So this scholarship was named after Neil J. Armstrong, which is one of Canada's most foremost aviators. He was admitted into the Canadian Aviation Hall of Fame, and the scholarship really helps Canadians get started in their aviation journey. This scholarship provides up to $14,000 towards any eligible training costs associated with obtaining your PPL, and the scholarship is available to one recipient per year. So the winning recipient will get $14,000 towards covering any costs associated with their training. The successful applicant will also get a 1-year complimentary membership to COPA as a student if they are not a member already. And they also get a 12-month access to online ground school through our partner, Hangar. So who qualifies to apply for the Neil J. Armstrong Ab Initio Scholarship? You need to be between the ages of 16 and 21 at the time of the application deadline. You must be either a citizen or a permanent resident of Canada, and you must not hold any pilot privileges. So you cannot apply to the scholarship if you already have your PPL, if you have a recreational pilot license, an ultralight permit, or a glider license. So any sort of pilot privilege would disqualify you from applying for this scholarship. And one of the requirements is you must have not completed more than 10 hours towards your flight training at the time of the application. So this is really for people who have zero or very little flight training before applying to the scholarship program. That's our first primary training. Now, I want to very quickly kind of elaborate on the second point of the eligibility criteria, which is that you must be a citizen or a permanent resident. Throughout the year, we have received some inquiries about whether people qualify or not for this scholarship from international students. So I'll spend a very quick minute here. If you are an international student in Canada on a student visa, that means that you unfortunately don't qualify as a citizen or a permanent resident. Once you get that PR status, or if you are a citizen of Canada, then you would qualify. So unfortunately, for the people who have asked us, international students would not qualify for this or the other COPA scholarships. This one is an eligibility criteria across all 4 scholarships. All right, so moving on to the next primary training scholarship, which is the COPA New Wings Scholarship. This was introduced recently in 2023 to support the dreams of aspiring pilots aged 21 and above. So COPA Neil J. Armstrong was for a younger demographic, people 16 to 21. The COPA New Wings Scholarship, you would have to be 21 years of age or older to qualify for this. This scholarship provides up to $5,000 towards eligible training costs for a primary flight training scholarship. And as of last year, Diamond Doors were very generous to also extend another $2,500 for an advanced flight training scholarship. And I invite everyone on the call to do a bit of research on Diamond Doors. They are a corporate member of COPA, and they proudly sponsor this scholarship. As with the Neil J. Armstrong application, the successful applicants would get a complimentary 1-year membership with COPA, and they also get access to online ground school with Hangar. For this scholarship to qualify as a successful applicant, you must be at least 21 years of age at the time of the application deadline. Again, you must be either a citizen or a permanent resident of Canada. You cannot hold any pilot privileges, PPL or otherwise. And for this one, opposite to the previous scholarship, for this one, you must have completed at least 10 hours of flight training to qualify for the New Wings Scholarship. Moving on to the advanced flight training scholarships. The first one is the COPA Advanced Flight Training Scholarship. This is awarded to up to 3 COPA members who are looking to pursue any form of advanced rating or endorsement beyond their PPL. We've heard from Annie who have used her scholarship funds to get her multi-engine rating. People use it to pursue any other form of ratings like a helicopter rating or multi-engine, night rating, etc. This scholarship provides up to $2,000 per recipient to cover any eligible training costs. Now, for this scholarship, to qualify as a successful applicant, you must be a COPA member for at least 3 months at the time of applying. You must be at least 18 years of age at the time of the application. You must be a citizen or a permanent resident, and you must already hold a private pilot license to apply. In the application, there will be a question where you can upload proof of your PPL for people who are applying for any advanced flight training scholarships. Now, the fourth and last scholarship is the COPA Drone Pilot Scholarship. Now, at COPA, we believe that airspace should be available for everyone, piloted and remotely piloted aircraft alike. So we introduced the COPA Drone Pilot Scholarship, which is awarded again to up to 3 COPA members every year who are looking to obtain their Advanced Remote Pilot Aircraft System Pilot Certificate, or RPAS, or drone certificate. These scholarships cover the RPAS ground school, flight reviews and exams through our pre-approved training provider, Coastal Drone. The scholarship will basically cover all the requirements to get your advanced RPAS scholarship. To qualify for this scholarship, you must be a COPA member for 3 months. You must be at least 18 years of age, and you must be either a citizen or a permanent resident of Canada. So this basically covers a very brief introduction to the 4 scholarships available through the COPA Scholarship Program. I invite you all to visit the COPA website to get more detailed information about each scholarship, the eligibility criteria, what qualifies as, we do mention a lot eligible costs associated with your training, so you can go onto the website to get more detailed information about the criteria for each one of those 4 scholarships. I will pause for a moment here, Sharon, to see if there are any questions.
This is very timely of you, Hannah. There's a question from Fuad asking if the advanced scholarship applies for instructor ratings.
So as an advanced rating, it does qualify if you would like to use your scholarship, the Advanced Flight Training Scholarship, to get an instructor rating. This qualifies as one of the criteria or one of the possible uses of the COPA Advanced Flight Training Scholarship. Great question. Any other questions, Sharon?
I have a question just because I see it pretty often, and you're on the drone pilot scholarship slides right now. Could you just go back to Coastal Drone, if you could speak more to what they do?
Definitely. So Coastal Drone is an online training provider specialized in remotely piloted aircraft systems. So it is an online school for drone pilot certificates that offers training programs at varying different levels. So even outside of the Drone Pilot Scholarship, which provides funds towards obtaining an advanced RPAS pilot certificate, Coastal Drone does offer other training programs for anyone who would like to get into to becoming a drone pilot at different levels. They are very generous to provide the training through their platform, and COPA has partnered with them to provide all training associated with the COPA Drone Pilot Scholarship.
Thanks for that, Hannah.
You're welcome. All right, so we'll move on to the next section. So the purpose of having this Q&A webinar was really to help applicants with different tips and tricks on how to apply to the scholarship program, how to really submit an application that stands out for the scholarship selection committee. So a little bit of information on how we process your applications. So the application window just recently opened on the 16th of December and will be open up until March 14th, 2025. I'll take this opportunity to quickly highlight. So the deadline for the application is March 14th, 2025 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. So this is an issue that some of the applicants have faced in previous years where they would try to submit their application at midnight, let's say their time, if they live on the West Coast or in some of the Western provinces. They would find that the system basically locks them out once it hits midnight Eastern. So my piece of advice to everyone is try to get your application submitted either on the morning of the day of the deadline or preferably and ideally a day before, just to make sure that the system does not lock you out just because of a time zone difference.
If I could jump in there, I know that it's natural instinct to go to chase the last possible day to give yourself time. But there are components to the scholarship application that may impact you beyond what you as an applicant are in control of. And what I'm speaking about is the referrals that we'll be requesting from all of our applicants. Is it too early to ask about this, Hannah, or can you speak quickly to that?
I will go through in a bit, but I guess to answer your question, Sharon, yes, part of the application requirements is to get, number one, a referral from someone, just as a general reference to your character and your aptitude and your ability to complete your flight training. So we do ask for applicants to submit a reference. Once you request that reference from whoever is referring you, the system will send them a notification saying, "Hey, this person is applying for a COPA scholarship and would like you to refer them." We do not have the ability to follow up for all of our applicants with their referrals. So it is up to you, the applicant, to make sure that your referee or your recommender has submitted the reference in time before the application deadline. So if you are applying a day or two before the deadline, it is on you, the applicant, to make sure that your reference has submitted all the required documents and filled out the form that we have requested. That's for the reference. Another thing that we are introducing new this year is, aside from having someone refer you as an outstanding applicant, we're also asking as an optional addition to the application. It's not mandatory, but we're asking for the endorsement of a COPA member. So if you do know a COPA member, or if you don't, you want to reach out to a COPA member to endorse your application. This is another external request as part of your application. So you will need to send out that request. Once it is sent out, it is on you, the applicant, to follow up with your endorser, with your referee, to make sure that they submit the form ahead of the application deadline. So that's a good point, Sharon, and I believe we will touch on it in just a bit. So very quickly, before talking to you about how to submit an outstanding application, let's talk about how to submit an application all in all. So at COPA, we use a scholarship management system called AwardSpring. You can see the link mentioned right there on the screen. So the first step is really to go onto the AwardSpring platform. The address is copa.awardspring.com, or you can use the QR code right there on the screen. You go onto the platform, you register your account as an applicant, A very quick note for our COPA members who are applying for the scholarship. AwardSpring is a separate tool or a separate platform. So aside from your COPA membership email and password, you will need to register an account with AwardSpring. You can use your same email, you can use your same password, but it will be a separate account that is not associated with your COPA member ID. So you can use the same email, but it's a separate platform. The first step is to go in, create your account. It'll ask for your information, name, contact information, date of birth, and then you can start filling out questions towards your application. Now, once the application is started, you can enter and exit as many times as you want. You can go in and edit any questions that you have already completed. At any point in time before the application deadline, you can go in and edit your application until you click that submit button, of course. So don't feel in a rush to complete the whole process all at once. We have designed the application in a way that it is not a very tedious application. It is not a very time-consuming application. Yet there are quite a number of essay questions. So don't feel the need to go in and do the whole application from start to finish in one sitting. You can go in and edit as many times as you want, and just making sure to click that submit button before the application deadline. Make sure all the required sections of the application are completed. As I have mentioned before, it is just a one single master application, no matter which scholarship you're applying for. The system will qualify you into one or the other scholarships. You don't need to worry about that part. Just make sure that in your application, going in, just make sure that if you are applying for any of the primary training scholarships, make sure you complete all of the questions in that section. If you're applying for an advanced flight training scholarship, make sure that you fill out all the questions in that section of the application. Drone pilot scholarships, you have a separate or a unique essay question that you will need to fill out. Anyone else who is not applying for the drone scholarship, feel free to just leave that section open. The application has been designed in a way that the questions that are specific to any specific scholarship have been left optional. So if you're applying for an advanced flight training scholarship, you can skip through the primary training scholarship questions, leave them empty, and that will not affect the application in any way. Again, we've talked about references. Make sure that your references fill out their sections. It is the responsibility of the applicant, and we have seen that in previous years where the applicant would submit a very, very strong application. However, just because it is missing that reference, you do lose a lot of points in that aspect, which technically disqualifies your application. We would still see it, we would still review it, but since it does not have that reference, you would lose out all the points associated with the referral. And again, make sure your application is submitted prior to the deadline. I am a fellow perfectionist. I would probably leave my application to the very last day, but I would strongly recommend against doing that. So these are just some tips on how to create your application and how to submit your application. Now we want to talk more about what the Scholarship Selection Committee looks for. What really makes your scholarship stand out. So I will ask all of the guest speakers to maybe unmute and contribute with me. I have put together 6 key points, and I'm going to call out on some of you to really tell us about your experience in applying, and really what sort of advice or tricks you would provide to people who are just submitting their application. So I'll start really first and foremost. One of the really important aspects that we look at is how is the applicant involved in their local aviation community? And this can really take multiple meanings. For someone who is already a pilot, they might have very strong connections with other pilots or the staff at their local airport. For someone who is just starting in aviation, if you're applying for the primary training scholarships, you might not have those deep connections with other fellow pilots, but it can also mean that you attend different events at your airport, whether you volunteer at them or attend. COPA has a very strong program called Discover Aviation. You might have been a participant at a recent Discover Aviation program, and that can show your involvement with your local aviation community. So, no matter how shape or form that involvement takes, it is important to display in your application that you are a connected part of a community. Pilots are very community oriented. They love to hang out with other fellow pilots. So whether you are in that category or you aspire to be in that category, it is important to showcase that in your application. So I'll probably go to our speakers, Annie or Emily, or if you have anything to add on that point.
I can maybe go. Just another perspective, I guess we could say, is that I'm just kind of thinking if I was the one choosing who'd be like winning the scholarship, knowing that they have connections with pilots and with the community, in my head would say they have a greater chance of actually completing their license and actually getting it done, because sometimes, you know, you may have moments where it's like, oh, what's the point of getting it done? But those pilots are going to make sure you get it done. And in my case, there's a few people that really did everything they could to help me get it. So you're kind of showing them that, yeah, you're real about this and you have a way of making it happen.
Definitely. It does go to show your commitment towards completing your training and achieving your goals that you've set out to achieve. David, I know you will probably have a few things to say about that. At the beginning of your journey with your scholarship and with obtaining your PPL, you probably had some difficulties in connecting with the community. So maybe if you can tell us about how you did connect or get involved with the community prior to applying and maybe after applying and receiving your scholarship.
Thank you so much. So for the couple of years before I did my pilot's license, I was with the Air Cadet group, and so I got to know a lot of people through my local aviation community in that format, through different flying clubs and different organizations, and they were always there for me as a sort of a pillar whenever I encountered any challenges, not only with applying for the scholarship, but also actually completing the PPL. I recall this summer there are times even for like basic aviation terminology, whether it's reading a map chart or looking at the studying material, like I would always be able to text somebody who I know in my local aviation community and ask them questions about, am I doing this right? Do I have any feedback? So they're always there for me. It's a good way to sort of be active in engagement and also receive sort of support for you to continue on, because it's not just a journey about yourself, but rather, you are a part of a community almost of people who can help you and you can help them. And it really goes a long way for the scholarship, but also to achieve your goal of getting a pilot license.
Indeed, indeed. I always tell applicants that applying for a scholarship, whether it's getting your PPL or whether it's just getting the extra rating, it's just the beginning of a very long journey. Pilots are usually lifelong enthusiasts about it. So if you're applying for one of the primary training scholarships, this is just the very first step in a very long journey with aviation. So really, that sense of community is a very important element, not only of applying for the scholarship, but of being a pilot in general. So it goes a long way if you can really display that involvement in your application. Which kind of takes me to my next point, which is in the application process, we do ask a lot of questions about where do you see yourself as a pilot? How is the COPA scholarship going to really help you with that? And really, what we're looking for is to get a sense of why people want to become pilots. I know a very easy and straightforward answer is, oh, I'm just getting my PPL because I want to become an airline pilot one day. Yes, that is the end goal that you're working towards, but is it really just about a job, or is it about showing a passion for the field of aviation? So this is something that we really look forward in strong applicants is um, showing us a sense of why they are passionate, why they want to pursue aviation in general. I don't know, Annie, or if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, so I would like to just mention here that displaying your passion could come in various forms. For me, I'm a student pilot, and I'm also actually working on the rules. For when I was filling my application for the 2024 application, I did, fill in both sections for the drone and then for the drone part, I did mention what I actually do at the moment. I use it for inspections and stuff. So that's what that I suppose I think that was one of the things that did help in getting the drone scholarship for that particular year. And then also for my other flight training for my private pilot license, I did state what exactly that I was doing at the time. Going back to what the point earlier that Emily mentioned, being involved in your local aviation, I would just like to briefly mention that. I know it might be time consuming to go out to attend all these events, but then there are some that you can actually find online, and there are several aviation communities that you can find online, which you can equally join once in a while, attend just to like boost your morale, those kind of things that could actually give your application a boost. I would just like to mention that.
Indeed. Emily, I
Yeah.
saw you unmute.
Yeah, and I just want to add, the scholarship committee want the recipient to be successful, right? So whatever you can show to demonstrate your passion and your involvement in the community just adds to your application that, if you are chosen, that you will be able to successfully complete your rating.
Indeed. Indeed. All right, moving on to tip number 3. Show us what you want to get out of the scholarship. As I mentioned, and this might be related to the point that we were just talking about. What do you want to get out of the scholarship? Oh, I just want the extra 2,500 or the extra 5,000 or the extra 14,000 to help me financially. Yes, but to what end? So, getting your PPL is, as I mentioned, just your very first step in a very long journey with aviation. So we really want to hear from applicants on not only financially speaking what getting that scholarship means to them, but really how does this scholarship either help them get started or help them achieve a goal that they've been dreaming of achieving. So really displaying again that passion and showing the scholarship selection committee that number one, you are a well-suited applicant to receive the scholarship, but also showing them the level of commitment that you will complete your flight training, and also the level of passion of what getting that extra rating or what getting that license really means to you as a person. Um, the next step is about doing your research prior to applying. So this goes in two different ways in my mind, and I'm sure all the speakers can attest to the type of research that they have done. But 2 points here. Number one is receiving a COPA scholarship or any form of financial assistance, whether it's from COPA or any other organization. It goes to help you cover part of the costs of your flight training. So, when you are a successful applicant, we want to make sure that you have done your research as to the financial implications of obtaining that rating or that certificate or that license. Beyond that scholarship, how are you going to finance the rest of your training? Or if you were not to be selected, have you done your research on how you can fund your flight training? Have you considered which types of schools you would like to apply for? Which schools are available in your local community? Who can provide some sort of mentorship towards your flight training? What are some of the organizations that you want to be associated with as part of this journey? So really doing your research and showing in the application that you have conducted some sort of research really goes a long way. So I'll go back to the speakers to tell us if anyone can tell us the journey of how you came to select your instructor or your flight training school.
For me, just maybe a different aspect to this that I didn't quite anticipate in my selection of my flight school was the wait times. For the multi-engine rating, there at many of the schools there were a long waiting list. So I quickly realized I had to, join several waiting lists and have, alternate plans in case my first choice didn't come through or it didn't work out in the timeline that I had anticipated. So I would recommend, in addition to researching the costs of the various flight schools and the plan and how you will be able to fund the remaining amount in order to complete your rating, also consider the wait times and get on those waiting lists as well.
Definitely.
So I would like to add, in considering your flight school, you might also want to consider distances you have to like cover. If you are flying, if your flight school is going to be about 2 hours away from where you live, so you have to factor that in. How tired are you going to be before your flight and afterwards? So those are the kind of things you might equally want to consider while choosing the flight school.
Definitely, and I would like to add with some of the applicants, some of the winning applicants, we have seen that they would decide to go with an independent or a freelance instructor outside of a flight training school. So this might also be an option that someone might consider if they don't live within the vicinity of a flight training unit. So this is also something that you would need to research. Emily, sorry, I know you wanted to say something.
Well, just you're talking about freelancing, but instructors. But actually, I was a weird scenario where I technically kind of only had one best choice when it comes to instructors and stuff. But also, just wanted to say a little thing like when you're applying, apply like put it in your head that you already won. What's your plan if you already win this? Like you don't want to be in shock when you win, not ready, and then have to potentially say no to the scholarship too, so apply with the mindset that you're going to get it, and then that might help you figure it out.
Love that. A winning mentality. That's a very good mindset to get into. All right, so moving on to the next point, which is something that we have touched on. References really do carry a lot of weight on your application. And here I use references plural because as I've mentioned, you will need one mandatory reference as part of your scholarship. Once you go into the application, you will fill out the contact information of the person you want to refer you. The system will contact them with an email. They'll use that to log in and fill out the information. So it is really your responsibility as an applicant to make sure that that whole process is completed within your application. So you send out the reference request, your refer or referee will have to fill out the application. You can check that as part of your application. Once you go in, it'll show the status of either the reference request being sent or the reference request being completed. That being said, for the mandatory reference also applies for the optional COPA member endorsement. The system will ask you to provide the information of a COPA member who will go in and endorse your application. As an applicant, you will need to ensure that both your referee and the COPA member who's endorsing you, if you choose to, have completed their sections or their parts before you submit the application or before the application deadline um, is before the application deadline cutoff date. So, David, can you tell us a little bit about your referee how you went about choosing who you wanted to refer you as an applicant.
For sure. So I believe I remember one of my referees is actually untraditional. He was actually a professor of mine rather than a mentor in aviation, but he knew me really well because I was working with him on a few research projects. And I go to a very small school, so I have lots of office hours, and oftentimes I talk a lot about my passions, and my passions lie within aviation. So I remember he was telling me about how when he was writing my reference, he was bringing up how I would always have conversations with him about aviation and the intersections of public policy and aviation. So really to talk to somebody and have a reference for you that it really knows you and knows your passion well. It doesn't have to be someone who's really high up or fancy. It just has to be someone who you know very well, who can attest to your passion and your commitment to aviation, as well as some characteristics that may help you succeed in getting a pilot license, like for example, maybe academics or certain qualities as well that can help.
Indeed, indeed. And David, you bring up a very good example of basically asking for a reference from someone who is not within the world of general aviation. Really, there are a lot of specific criteria that would tell me who would be a good pilot, even if they come from someone who is not within the aviation world. So, lots of people can talk to your level of commitment, to your passion, as you mentioned. You might talk about your passion for aviation with people who are outside the world of aviation. So your reference can come from anyone as long as they know you well. And the reason that we added the endorsement of a COPA member is if any applicants decide to bring in a reference who is not from the world of aviation, it could be a mentor, it could be a professor, it could be even a family member who can attest to your level of commitment. You can also use the supplementary COPA endorsement to for someone to put in a good word on your behalf from within the aviation community. I'm not saying that it is necessary or it is mandatory to have a reference from someone within aviation, but it does help when that person knows about your passion more than just from an outside perspective. And lastly, one point that I wanted to quickly talk about, your application should really be your work and your work only. I know we can easily uh, fall into the trap of asking for outside assistance, and that outside assistance can come from an individual, it can come from an AI tool like ChatGPT or any other artificial intelligence GPT. Um, we do run all the applications, or at least the applications that are shortlisted, through a detector just to make sure that they have not been processed using an artificial intelligence tool. Um, I can talk a lot about the advantages, disadvantages of using AI. It can definitely be very helpful. I use ChatGPT to bounce some ideas off of. I do use a few tools to check on my writing, my grammar. I'm not a native speaker, so sometimes I might need that extra nudge, that extra bit of help. Um, but this point just goes along to say no one can really tell us about how passionate you are better than you can tell us about how passionate you are. So if you're using ChatGPT to bounce your ideas off of someone to get an extra pair of eyes, yes, that is okay, but we can easily tell, and the systems that we use can easily tell if the whole application was submitted through an artificial intelligence tool, or even if it's not an AI tool, even if it's a parent. I have seen some applications from a 16-year-old applying for an ab initio scholarship that writes at a graduate school level. So it is easy for us to kind of discern when those applications have been tweaked a little too much. So all of this is to say, keep your application to yourself. Tell us in your own words why you would be a deserving applicant of the scholarship. David?
Yeah, that's a great point because I think for a lot of the questions, you really have to speak about your true passions and why you want to do this. And as someone who's willing to play around with a lot with AI can't really do any of that because your passion is from you, it's not from AI. So you have to speak
Exactly.
to actually why you love aviation, why you love doing what you do, and AI can't really replace that. Like it tries to do it, but it doesn't get the message across. So it's not only you might be tempted to use AI because it might get things faster, you might do things more efficiently, but at the same time, like just remember that the whole application is about your voice and your passion, and you want to be that person to write the application to showcase that passion. You don't want somebody else to write something that's not true.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, I would just like to state that there's nobody that can tell your story better than yourself. So you are in the best position. You can get ideas, getting your grammars and stuff done, but it's your own story. You are the best person to tell that story. It's your story, own it, tell it your way, and you will just be fine. Thank you.
100%. 100%. And I've basically come up with these six tips or tricks in coordination with some of the guest speakers. But I'd like to open it up for a few minutes. I'm conscious of the time. I want to leave some time if we have any questions at the end. But Emily, David, Annie, if you do have any other things, any other nuggets of wisdom that you would like to share with people on the call today, people who will watch this recording, if you were to go back and apply for the COPA scholarship again, what are some things that you have learned throughout your application? What are some things that you think you would do differently this time?
I can start if that's okay. For me, I think my biggest tip would just be make it your own, show your personality. It's just a piece of paper, maybe not a piece of paper, but it's words. But there's ways of showing why you're different and why you deserve to win that. Everyone that's going to be applying loves aviation. They get that. That's not what they want to see. They want to see that, but they want to see what makes you different, what makes you unique, and what makes you a good candidate compared to the other people. So that's just my little bit of information.
Definitely.
I think that for me, it was quite funny because I actually applied to COPA once, and then the second time was a successful attempt, so I understand it. And after I applied for once, and then again, I sort of reflected on how it came from my application, and I was reading it, and I noticed that it really didn't talk too much about my particular passion at first and how I developed that passion and how I show commitment to that passion through what I do. So the second time when I actually rewrote the application again and sort of sat down with a piece of paper, I really added like why I truly love what I do and the story and told almost like a story about how I first started doing it and the stuff that I do now as well. I think that's the best tip that I would give, like, is actually to sit down and reflect like why you truly love this, because it is a lot of commitment to not only do your PPL but to apply for this. But at the same time, you want to be authentic in that, and you want to show to the viewer why are you special, why are you deserving of that scholarship in particularly, and what is your passion all about. I feel like it's a very specific thing, and it takes a lot of reflection.
Indeed. We do receive quite a bit of applications. Last year, we've received upwards of 700 applicants. And as David said, and as Emily said, it is quite a bit of a challenge to really put your passion into words and saying, hey, there are hundreds of flight enthusiasts who are applying for the scholarship. Why should you pick me? That's quite a bit of self-reflecting that needs to be done to really get that passion across in writing. Indeed.
So
And I would
Emily, okay, so you can go ahead.
Oh, sorry, that's okay. I would just I echo all of those sentiments, and I would just add, give lots of time for your references, and time for yourself to refine your story and your application. I myself too apply more than once, and through each application process, you kind of get the opportunity to reflect on your story and the story that you want to tell, and to tell it in a different way. So I think just giving yourself lots of time to reflect on that, and giving your references lots of time to reflect on, how they want to best showcase you as well.
And it just took the words out of my mouth. I was about mentioning the the references part, and then giving it time to get your application, get your story all together. David and Emily have well spoken on that. It's your story. Tell it your own way. get your references to be on board. You can give them, they are people who already know you, so they know what your passion is, but then you can also tell them how you want their supporting comments to be on your application as well. And then just give it time. Do not wait until the last minute, because that way you start rushing things. You have up until March. It's a long rope for you to pull. You can get it done. If others here can do it, you equally can do it. And then, like they all said, nobody here is a first timer. We all you get better at it. But then if you start now, you can get that perfect application in before the deadline.
Definitely.
If I could add to that, I think hearing that we've had 700 applicants might sound intimidating to some of the folks in the room. And I guess I'd say, why not you at the same time, as long as you've taken the steps to ensure that you fit the criteria, that you've taken stock of all the advice here today of understanding your own story and looking for ways to articulate it and express it best. I also encourage all of the attendees or anybody watching this beyond today to read up on every single one of the stories of Annie and David and Ifeolua and Emily. Like we publish them, and they're very inspiring. And also just thank you to the few folks who've actually joined us today. I would put that in your application, that you've taken the extra steps to ensure that you fit the criteria and you're mindful of your own time and the committee's time. So I thought I'd add that on there, because if I was sitting in the room and I heard, oh, there's 700 people, I'd go, I probably don't need it that bad. But you never know.
I hope I didn't discourage anyone. No, but this is a perfect segue. I just want to cover a few more points. I know we talked a little bit. The last tip is having the application being your own work, but there's also no harm in really taking your ideas and getting some guidance from people. So my next and last slide is for people who are looking for ways to get involved. So if you're new to the world of aviation, if you are looking for different ways to get involved and show that involvement. Maybe you're looking for a mentor to kind of guide you through the process. Really, a few points here. Number one is reach out to your local COPA flight. COPA has regional chapters in all 10 provinces and 2 territories. These COPA flights are very active in organizing events, in holding regular meetings that you can go and attend. So really going to your local COPA flight goes a long way, whether you're looking for a mentor, whether you're looking for someone to just read over your application, or whether you're looking for opportunities to get involved. Going to those COPA flights can be a very good first step. Even if in your region, or even if your airport does not host a local COPA flight, just go to the airport, talk to a pilot. Pilots love talking about being pilots. So I'm sure if you go and visit an airport, you will not have any difficulties in just getting the conversation started. I know our speakers today talked about attending aviation events in your community, whether it's an airport open day, whether it's a seminar that's being organized, whether it's any other sort of event organized by either COPA or any of the other aviation organizations. Just go and mingle, rub elbows with people. And lastly, if you do have the opportunity, volunteer with a COPA flight or volunteer with any other aviation organization in your community for the events that they organize. This would be a great way to help shape your application and just help make you a better pilot or a better flight enthusiast in general. So being mindful of the time, I know we only have 2 minutes, but maybe we can go over for a few more minutes. I just want to thank everyone for joining us today, both our speakers and the attendees. Hopefully we've answered some of the questions, or we will be answering in a few moments. If you do have any questions prior to starting your application, throughout your application, if you have any difficulties, you can always reach COPA. One email that you can reach us at is programs@copanational.org. If you have any general question, if you're a member, you can always reach us at COPA National. We do have social media accounts on Facebook, Instagram. You can always reach us. through those channels as well. And with that, I'll go to you, Sharon, to see if there are any questions that came up.
Not currently. I think everybody's already getting started on their applications.
Well, perfect. Thank you to everyone who joined us. I know, Sharon, you have overseen the scholarship program longer than I have. I'm fairly new. I don't want to say new, but I'm fairly new to the COPA team. Sharon has seen the COPA Scholarship Program over the past few years. So I don't know if you can give us any parting words for today.
We read every single application, full stop, twice. Not um not just twice as like the number of people, but each individual selection committee member. So we go through hundreds and hundreds of them, but we make sure that we evaluate, and there's a full system that we go through. It's not just your writing capability. It's not everybody's a strong writer. You might have a great story, and that's what we're actually paying attention to more than anything else. And so we take this as seriously as you do. If you're taking the time to apply, we are on the other end rooting for you as well. And so sometimes there are applicants that don't make it through the first round. We only have so many scholarships available, but we do look for ways to stay in touch with the applicants that we that come into our network. And so this might be one stage of getting your journey in aviation started, but there's so many opportunities if you look towards COPA and the many other organizations that are out here. So that's really my big comment of we have this resource here for you. Take a look at the criteria more than anything and make sure that it fits what you're looking for before you get started. But we are here to support you, and we want to recognize and celebrate all of our scholarship winners. So thank you to everybody that's come here today.
Perfect. All right. Well, if there are no questions, we'll go ahead and leave it at that. Perfect timing. We went 1 minute over. Thank you again for everyone who joined us, and have a good rest of your day.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.